My wife admitted the baby we've been raising isn't mine, and my mother demanded I forgive her or be disowned. Instead, I chose to serve my wife with divorce papers. Hello, Reddit I plus here. I never thought I'd be the guy telling this kind of story. You hear about it, read about it online, shake your head and think, that could never be me. And yet, here I am. My wife, Rachel, and I had been married for 5 years. Our son, at least the boy I thought was my son, just turned 2. I loved that kid more than anything in the world. He had my eyes, my smile, or at least that's what everyone said, and I believed it. I believed in my little family, until 3 weeks ago. I was at work when Rachel called me, her voice trembling. She asked me to come home, saying we needed to talk. My mind immediately went to something tragic. Maybe something happened to our son. I broke every speed limit getting home, only to find her sitting at the kitchen table, pale, hands shaking, eyes red-rimmed. I'll never forget the first words out of her mouth. He's not yours. It felt like the world collapsed in on itself. I had to sit down, feeling my whole body go cold. I asked her what she meant, praying that somehow I'd misunderstood. Rachel explained that during what she called a rough patch in our marriage, she had an affair. One time, she insisted. A mistake, she sobbed. She swore she didn't know for sure until recently, when the other man, Liam, reached out demanding a paternity test. He had apparently suspected it all along and finally decided to confirm, and confirm it did. I remember laughing. A dry, humorless sound that felt like it belonged to someone else. I looked at the woman I had built a life with and saw a stranger. I asked her why she waited so long to tell me, why she let me believe I was that boy's father, why she stole 2 years from me. Her answer? She was scared. She hoped it wasn't true. And when Liam reached out, she knew she couldn't hide it anymore. I packed a bag that night and left. My mother was furious. Not at Rachel, but at me. She told me marriage was about forgiveness, that Rachel had made a mistake but had come clean, and that I had a duty as a man, as a father, to stay. Blood doesn't make a family, she kept saying. I told her love doesn't make a lie true either. That kid was my son in every way that mattered, except the one that made Rachel's betrayal so absolute. The next day, I called a lawyer. When I told my mom I was filing for divorce, she gave me an ultimatum. Forgive her, or you're no longer my son. I told her she'd made her choice. And so, I made mine. The last few weeks have been hell. I moved in with my best friend, started therapy, and tried to untangle the mess Rachel left behind. She begged me to reconsider, to go to counseling, to think of the child who still called me daddy. And God, that's the hardest part. I don't know what's worse, losing my wife or losing my son. But how do I stay in his life when every time I see him, I'm reminded of the lie? Liam, the biological father, wants to be involved now. Rachel says she wants me to be there too, but I can't pretend everything is fine. I can't be the backup dad because she made a mistake. And my mother? She stopped speaking to me. She made good on her threat, choosing Rachel over her own son. I heard through my sister that my mom is helping Rachel with my son, acting like she's the grandmother she always was. Maybe in her mind, she's doing the right thing. Maybe she just doesn't want to admit she raised a man who refuses to be walked over. The divorce is in motion. I don't regret filing, even though it feels like my heart is being ripped apart. I regret the years I wasted, the love I gave freely to someone who didn't deserve it. But I don't regret choosing myself for the first time in a long time. Some people will call me heartless for walking away from that little boy. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have found a way to stay in his life. But right now, I need to survive this. I need to rebuild. And that starts with cutting out the people who think betrayal should be forgiven simply because it's easier than facing the truth.